Hi guys, I am Francisco Isidro III, and I will present the neural pathway of the balance and the orientation system of the body. This report, or rather figure, is very easy. In general, these are the input. Ang nangyayari lang dito is that there's an input, there is a processing, and there is an output. So let's proceed muna with the input. So what is the input? The input are the stimulus coming from the environment. Sila yung mga readings from the surroundings. So yung mga stimulus na to, they are gathered through the receptors, respective receptors. We have the vestibular, visual, and the somatic. So the vestibular receptors present in the visual receptors present in the inner ear are the one responsible for detecting rotational motion of the head, a linear motion, and the tilting of the head. So through what? Through the semicircular canal. Yung nakikita nyo dyan ng mga bilog-bilog. May dinedetermine silang sarili nilang plane, respectively. We have here the sagittal plane, we have here the frontal plane, and lastly is the transverse plane. Para madali siyang maalala, join me. Walang katapusang XYZ. We have the sagittal plane, frontal plane, and the transverse plane. So, ang dinedetect ng ating frontal plane, this one, is yung up and down movement of the head. Yung ating namang frontal plane, mali, color blue dapat. Yung the frontal plane is yung side, patagilid. And lastly is the transverse plane is yung simple saying of no. Yung movement ng no. So, sideways pero hindi pataas. Sides. Diba? So, next one is the visual receptors. As obviously as it may seem, this one is responsible for detecting the vision of the surrounding. And lastly, we have the somatic receptors. Ang dinedetect nito ay pressure, temperature, and pain to the skin. So once the receptors have gathered this stimulus, they are processed through the central nervous system processing, through the cerebellum and the vestibular nuclei. They are responsible for the coordination of movement in the body. So your cerebellum, it coordinates movement. Now, the vestibular nuclei naman, it is the major integral center for balance. So once na-process na nila, they are now sent as an output through the oculomotor control and the spinal motor control. So ang oculomotor control, ang pinakahalimbawa nito is that when I look at you, di ba? When I look at you, even if I move my head, even if I move my body, di ba? Kaya kong ilak-in yung mata ko sa'yo. That is how the oculomotor control works. To the cranial nerve 3, 4, and 6, oculomotor, trochlear, and the blue sense. Yung locking of the eye to you. Now is the spinal motor control. Spinal motor control, ang nangyayari to, is that kapag natutumba tayo, even if we are not aware na natutumba na tayo, naaayos na agad ng katawan natin, di ba? Napaperceive na agad na ayusin natin yung posture natin before we know na matutumba na pala tayo. So that is how the spinal motor control works. So paano naman kunyari kapag nagkaroon ng sensory conflict? So ano bang sensory conflict? Sensory conflict happens when there is a mismatch or contrasting stimulus from receptors. For example, is when we are seasick. Ang nangyayari seasick through how? Di ba? Sa bangka. Kapag yung sa seasick, yung visual receptors natin, pinapakita niya naman na normal naman yung nakikita niya sa environment. Pero yung vestibular receptors natin, alog na ng alog yung endolimb sa semicircular canal sa atin dahil sa bangka. So since nagko-contract yung receptors, sinasabi ng vestibular receptors natin na hindi stable yung tinatayuan natin. While yung visual receptors, sinasabi niya naman na okay naman, nagkakaroon, again, ng sensory conflict. So yung sensory conflict na yun manifest through seasickness of the body. So ganun ang sensory conflict. So to wrap it up, we have here the input coming from several receptors that gathers the stimulus, which are then processed through the central nervous system processing of the cerebellum and the vestibular nuclei, which once they have processed this stimulus, they are sent as oculomotor control to the spinal motor control for proper posture of the body and the eye. So that is how the neural pathway of the balance and orientation system of the body works. Thank you.